Hey everyone, welcome to our conversation today. Our topic for today is how to create a perfect CV. Here at Lemon.io, we are really eager to share our knowledge so everyone would have the necessary tools to win a project, especially now when we still feel the crisis hit. We'll share our experiences with CV from various perspectives, discuss important points for the clients and recruiters, highlight red flags in CVs, and talk about developers' experiences. Also, if you have now or will have any questions regarding our topic, please feel free to write them down in the comment section. We'll try to answer all of them at the end of our call. I'm Anastasiya, talent matching lead at Lemon.io. I will be one of the speakers today. Please meet my colleague Katerina, and she will tell a few words about herself.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm Katrina, and I work as a recruiting operations manager here at Lemon.io. I started as a recruiter, and then I switched to recruiting operations manager. I will try to not to bore you with long speeches today. And
I
to
will be the
share with
one
you
doing
some.
it.
Oh, great! All right, thank you. And I'll try to share with you some tips on what recruiters pay attention to when checking your CVs. And I will try to make it not really boring. I will try.
Great. Thank you, Katerina. And our third speaker for today is Krzysztof, who works with one of our clients already for several months, quite successfully. Krzysztof, thank you for joining us today. And
Thank you for
maybe you
having
can
me.
say a few words about yourself and generally about your experience with CVs, and maybe you could share some success stories or something like that.
Yeah, sure. So what can I tell about myself? I'm making, breaking, fixing things, making a lot of noise, not necessarily musical, but hoping that someday maybe it will. And regarding CVs, besides being independent contractor here at Lemon.io, I also had some episodes in working as a talent manager and as a recruiter, technical recruiter, sometime in the past. So when it comes to success stories, I can talk about them from both perspectives, me as applying and me also seeing a couple of good CVs along the way. And actually, the one example of super success story I remember with so-called CV was to make a pull request to the company I wanted to work for. They had a public website hosted on GitHub, so I made a pull request with my profile details and my CV, added to their page. And that was actually my first job abroad. It led me to move from Poland to South America and start exploring the world. On the other end, the cool CV I happened to see was a lengthy email conversation filled with question after question for question answers when the candidate would ask very strange questions with some memes along the way, and at the same time prompt us to also get out of the box and be a bit of more creative to get to know each other through that stream of internet everythingness, if I say it this way. So yeah, maybe from these two sides, not necessarily professional, not recommended in all cases, but definitely success stories for both. I landed that job with pull request, and this fellow also enjoyed a new position at our company.
Great. I think this story about pull request is actually a really great sample of how important it is to impress a client, and actually that you need to always to find a way to make your CV outstanding, make your presentation outstanding, because clients receive a lot of applications nowadays, and really the CV is maybe the first thing they pay attention to. And I'll share my presentation. One moment. Yeah, great. So the first thing we'll talk about today is the significance of CV. Generally, of course, everyone knows that CV is really important. But what I would like to add that CV is actually the very first point of contact between you and a potential employer. It's your chance to make a positive first impression and stand out among other applicants. A client may skip one of the interview stages or shorten the interview time if your CV is perfect. And we had such examples at our platform. And vice versa, we had cases when clients refused to interview really experienced developers with great background just based on their CV quality, unfortunately. And Katerina, maybe you have something to add here.
Well, right. Yeah, I will be telling about this from recruiter's perspective, right? And I just wanted to ask you to think about your CV like as your own outfit or profile picture or about myself section in Tinder or any social media, whatever. And it's the first thing recruiters see. And this is the first information they know about you, they learn about you. And this is your chance like, to make a great first impression. And your CV is like a snapshot of your qualifications and achievements. And like, imagine it's your own little greatest hits album. So right, it's very important for us and try to show who you are, what you do, and just try to tell about your achievements during your career and try to make it in a short and well structured manner. It's also very important.
Yes, I totally agree with you, especially about CV size, and we'll talk about it a bit later as well. And Krzysztof, actually, you have quite an impressive CV at our platform. Our talent matching team really liked it. Maybe you could share it and tell a bit about your approach to CVs and generally why did you decide to fill it with that specific projects? Maybe some additional points as well.
Sure. So I've got my CV prepared here. I chose only a couple of projects out of my full CV, and I focused on I don't want to say shock value, but the big enough projects to impress the client, at the same time full enough of grounded information about technologies, about the problematic, about the issues at hand and the solutions provided. While working in the talent acquisition, I also learned the importance of brief and compact CV that directly answers to to what clients are eventually looking for in people they wanna hire. It's kind of like having this in the while writing these profiles, having in the back of my mind that recruiter may have 15, 20, 30 seconds, maybe a minute tops of looking at that CV, and of course client will be more interested in reading through, but with certain focus. So focus on technologies, focus on certain projects or issues that they are facing on at the moment. So while choosing the projects, I wanted to have a range, and actually maybe comparing it to a singer or an actor when they want to show off their vocal or acting range during a performance. Here with this CV, I wanted to show my range as an engineer. So I chose very heavy engineering project. I chose a project as a tech lead. I chose another one that was full of these kind of everywhere tasks that every developer or every engineer faces in their day-to-day job, and one with heavy focus on database architecture, and generally dealing with high scale and high level of high amount of information. What else? What else? I think I was also focusing a lot on not overdo it and be to the point, not shower the client or whoever will be reading it with buzzwords and names of technologies. I wanted to be coherent and down to the point, kind of uh, uh, no bullshit approach. Oh, maybe like this, if you know what I mean. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great, just great. And actually, no bullshit approach is the approach we usually use as well. So, like, it's really great that you try to stick to the points and didn't try to add a lot of additional information that may distract the client, because it can be a problem sometimes. So it really seems to me that you understand the significance of CV really well, like in the terms of how it should look, how it should work, and it's really great. And do you think that actually CVs helped you with the Lemon.io project as well, or maybe it wasn't that big influence?
I will go into a kind of like a dark forest of an answer, because honestly, writing my CV several times over the past 2 years helped me look at my own skills, review them, select the ones that I want to further develop, and drop the ones that are no longer needed. At the same time, as probably every developer out there, I went to a couple of burn downs. So also writing down these CVs along the way helped me clarify my mind and get out of the burning states from overworking prior. So yeah, definitely writing my own CV, or even helping friends to write theirs, is definitely has something something painful in it, something very some kind of barrier of I don't know how to call it, like this kind of thing that you need to step over to move forward. But at the same time, it is very rewarding once you finish, and especially once you land a job, whether the CV is perfect or not, and however you see it, the job market later verifies whether it was good. So like one more thing I could add is that continuously improving your CV, not like writing one and I'll send it to everyone, but seeing, gathering feedback, seeing what worked and what didn't, and based on that, improving your profile. That's also quite important.
That's really interesting. And you mentioned that you helped your friends with CVs. And what were their main struggles? Like, why did they ask you for help? And maybe you could tell a bit about your own struggles while working on the CV.
Mm-hmm. I noticed two main points of struggle. One being the language, and I noticed it even with friends who speak perfect English or perfect Spanish. They would ask me to at least review it, read it, just for the sake of proofreading it. And from the other side, also folks who weren't super sure about their skill and how to describe it. So they would work on either many projects or too few projects, and couldn't find words or this social way of presenting what they're working on. Maybe from this side, yeah.
I see. And were those friends developers as well as you are, or they had different professions?
Mostly IT designers and developers, QAs.
It's interesting. And from your point of view, like, what did you need to help them at the main point? Like, maybe they had some important issues in their CVs, or maybe you noticed some correlation with their problems.
I did notice one thing in pretty much everyone, and it's kind of this little fear of being their own selves. Yes, we are looking for jobs. We need to present ourselves to the liking of our clients and present the knowledge and technology and experience, expertise that will match and fit. But at the same time, people tend to forget that it's you who's gonna be working that 7, 8, 6, 10 hours a day, depending on how much you want to work, and it's you how you're gonna be perceiving it and how you're gonna be feeling in that job. So if you're gonna prepare CV that it's not you, that it's someone else, mask to get the job, that's fantastic. You may get it, but you may not be happy in it. So actually helping my friends to realize that, okay, we need to present ourselves and look for jobs that fit our profile, not the other way around. I think that was the biggest struggle they had while writing the CV.
I feel that so much because the main struggle for me was actually working on my own CV always. It was not that hard to help other people to review their CVs, and I had a lot of such experience at Lemon.io platform while working with developers. It was always much easier to present other people, to notice advantages of other persons than your own. Because for me specifically, it is really hard to write something good about myself, to write something I'm really proud of and such stuff. And I see Katerina want to add something.
Yeah, I can see that we have a couple of questions in the chat. And I have a question, from Sophia asking about soft skills on a CV, and can you share tips on how to actually convey them? Well, actually, if talking about soft skills, you have to be really careful about that if you want to add them in your CV. If talking about Lemon.io and whether we pay attention to this, if the CV has information about soft skills there, no, we usually don't pay attention. And well, this is what we check during the call. We call it intro call. We talk to the person, we ask him questions, and we see how they behave. But I think it's something, another topic. It's not about CVs. But if you want to add something really amazing about your soft skills in your CV, go ahead and do that. Just please be very careful. Otherwise, it may sound like you're trying to show off, and it will not sound really true. So be a bit calm about that. Okay. And another question from Alex: what advice would you give to new graduates who may lack extensive work experience but want their lemonized CVs to make an impact? Maybe it's a question for Anastasiya. How do you think for the clients with the... It's a tough question. What advice?
It's really a tough question because, again, now we have a crisis. We still have a crisis on the market, and clients are looking for really experienced developers, and we feel it. We feel that customers always are looking for developers, for senior developers. They are looking for developers who worked with similar domain previously. They were looking for developers who has experience with that specific set of technologies. So I think if you're a newcomer and if you really do not have a lot of experience, commercial experience in your portfolio, it is really important to look for other stuff that you may include in your CV. Pay attention to your education. If you have education that may be important for the client, if you have additional courses completed, mention it. Of course, mention if you have experience with some really specific technologies. You may be that one unicorn a client is looking for, and even if you lack experience, commercial experience, client may still like to offer you a job just because you have experience with that specific tech stack. And of course, pay attention to your pet projects, pay attention to non-commercial projects you may had experience with, because clients quite often pay attention to them. They are looking for developers who are eager to work, who are passionate about their work and about the projects. So if you had pet projects, if you have something you work on, if you have something you are proud of, really, it may be a pet project. It shouldn't be something commercial, but something really worth trying. Show it to the client. It may be a good point to impress them. It may be a good point to start if you are a junior developer. Krzysztof, maybe you have something to add there, as from a developer's perspective, like you were a junior engineer sometime.
Yeah, I remember when I was a junior, definitely pet projects and GitHub profile helped out. Like looking now at that code from that time, it's a bit of a cringe for me internally, but back then it actually showed at least the ambitions and passion for development. So definitely, even if the code is not perfect, show off what you've got. Even unfinished projects, that's something that recruiters are definitely looking at. But I have one more tip, actually, something that happened several times when I was in talent acquisition, which is actually long-term networking and growth from the perspective of a newcomer into the field. It happened at least 3 or 4 times, from what I remember, to me, that somebody would reach out saying, "Hey, I've got no experience, but your company is interesting. Can we have a call? Can we discuss what are your requirements? Maybe you have an advice. I'm sure I'm not going to pass it, but I would like to learn." And in all cases, we'd actually go for that. We would invite those people for short 15-10 minutes calls, tell them what we are looking for, and get this point of contact. They would actually come back after 6 months, after a year, saying, "Hey, we did a course on React or course on Elixir. We did this and this project. I know, learned more about your company, followed the blog, and so on. Can I try the interview process now?" And that's completely different kind of conversation than just sending your CV and saying, "Hey, I've got no experience, or I've got only just one project or other." Actually, this shows that you are serious about your job and that you are thinking long term. And that's the kind of people that's actually the senior trait that companies are looking in people they are hiring.
Yes, totally agree with you. And we see a bit more questions in the comment section, but as we are short of time, we will now jump to our presentation and we'll answer as many questions as we can at the end of our meeting. So the next thing we would like to talk is actually tips and tricks for your flawless CV. And I will tell a bit about what clients usually pay attention to, and then Katerina will also tell about what recruiters pay attention to while they are reviewing your CV. So what is important for a client? First, CV size. We talked about it at the beginning of our call. The best standard for the CV would be up to 3 pages. Long reads, of course, clients may appreciate long reading and may appreciate the time you spent writing long CV, but most likely they will be distracted and they won't be able to pay attention to all the information you included. And thus, they may miss some important points that you would like them to read, like they will miss some important information about your responsibilities, about how such a good match you are for this or that project. So keep it simple but meaningful. And then experience with relevant technologies in your recent projects. This is why it is really important to list all technologies you worked with. How long have you been working on a project? A lot of short-term projects may be actually a red flag for a client. We have also similar questions in our comment section. So yeah, if you have a lot of short-term projects, you should really work really hard on responsibilities description, on a project description, on maybe some intro for a client to highlight them what makes you a great fit for this or that project. Because especially if a client is looking for a long-term cooperation, they may need a developer who already had experience with such projects. So if you have at least one long-term project among your short-term projects, please include this information. Even if it is an old project, still it is worth to do that because it may be the thing that will help you to win a project. Also, if you had previous experience with platform before, so if you're a Lemon.io developer and you already worked with us on a project, include information about your latest project in your CV. It would be a great point and it will give more trust for a client. Like they are looking quite often for developers who already had experience with us. Then relevant education. It can be relevant to your profession, like if you completed computer science degree or something like that, or it may be relevant to the project field. So like if you're going to work on a medical application and you have a degree in medicine, include this information. Client may like it, and it may be an important point for a client actually. And generally, if you have some specific interest in a project, like your hobbies are somehow connected, your education is somehow connected, you have something specific to highlight, do it. It will be really important and it will definitely help to win a project. Then website links. Make sure that the website links are live and websites are aesthetically pleasant. So if you have really old projects, it is better to review them before posting links, just to make sure that the website looks nice and client will appreciate looking through it, because clients generally prefer to look through all the links that they have. And if you have GitHub link, if you add this information, please make sure that there are open repositories with relevant code samples. It is also really important. Clients also like to check everything that they may find about your experience and about your code quality. And of course, responsibilities. It may be probably one of the most important points actually, because this is what will tell client if you're a good fit for a project. If you have responsibilities that are somehow similar to what client is looking for, include this information. Mention all important tasks. Mention your team lead or tech lead experience if you had any. Make sure that you mention at least 3 different responsibilities for each project and try not to duplicate them from one project to another. It is also better to be quite specific about your responsibilities, because like generally telling the client that you worked on front end won't be a big help for you. It is better to tell something specific, like you worked on specific functionality, you work with some specific technologies, with some specific libraries during your work. It will give a much better understanding for a client about your experience. And also mention your task with specific technologies, like you build something using some specific library, etc., etc. It will be a great help. And actually, Krzysztof demonstrated his CV properly, and he is doing it with a great, in a great way. Like he highlighted specific tasks he completed, he highlighted specific responsibilities. It is a really good way to impress a client. And here at the screenshot, you can see also some samples of responsibilities and how they may look. So client would be impressed with them. And I know that Katerina has a lot more points here.
Yeah, right. Can you show the next slide, please?
Yeah.
Right. Well, since the recruiters are the first people, usually who see your CV and then pass it to the client, it's also very important that the recruiters like your CV too. So here I have highlighted a couple of points that are pretty important about your CV. And the first point is clear formatting. I will not be talking about all the sub points because it's pretty evident, but I will show you a bad example on how not to do. Because on the right of the presentation, you can see just screenshot of someone's fonts notes application. So don't be the person who does that, because it shows that you are not really interested in this position. You didn't spend not a lot, but enough time to format your CV and make sure it looks nice. And the next point is about your contact information. And don't tell us a lot about yourself. Don't include your a screenshot of your driver license, or don't send us your home address. We don't really need that. For us, it's enough your full name, phone number, email address, and profile, LinkedIn profile. So that will be enough. And actually, we had a question about design of the CV, if it's important to add some fancy designs and fonts. Anastasia, can you please switch the slides?
Sure.
Well, to be honest, we don't really like really bright creative designs, because for us, it's important the information itself. All the pictures, bright designs, interesting creative fonts, they distract us from the information which is in the CV. So try to be more strict about that. For us, that will be enough if you use just Times New Roman or whatever and stick to a clear format. So yeah, about the design, only if you are applying as a graphic designer, maybe that's a case, but not in our case if you are applying as a software developer. And the next slide, please. Talking about your relevant work experience and skills. Of course, we need to see the most relevant experience and your skills. That try to list your jobs in reverse chronological order, starting with the most recent ones, and use bullet points to keep it readable. And if you have achieved something awesome, shout it out, mention it, because recruiters love to see achievements as long as they're relevant, of course, to the position you're applying for. And here I have a question to Krzysztof, actually, about the work experience and skills. I know that sometimes software developers, or I don't know, other positions, people are working on a lot of different projects, and sometimes they forget about what they have done before. And my question is about if you save the list of the projects you've been working on immediately, or you try to remember all of them right before applying for the project.
I'm kind of saving them immediately. Let's say every 2-4 weeks, I do some kind of my own retrospective where I gather some notes from both my career life as well as the personal one. And at the end of the year, I review it for different aspects. So one of them being refreshing my CV. I have to mention also that I apply for different jobs for sport. I mean, for sport, for social connection from time to time. Person can get how to say, can forget both words, behaviors, and so on. So from time to time, I'm refreshing my CV, applying a couple of jobs, and doing interviews just for the sake of having a conversation in that environment and in that kind of setup. So yeah, definitely, I'm not putting it off too long with gathering this information, because indeed our biological CPU is very forgetful, and
that's actually nice. Yeah, because I know that a lot of software developers or a lot of people struggle to remember their responsibilities, what they have done, achieved, and about the project and whatever. So yeah, it's really nice that you save them immediately.
Yeah, sometimes I even forget what I ate for breakfast. So, like, remembering something I did a year ago is a great struggle for everyone.
Yeah. Anastasia, can you please switch to another slide?
Sure.
Okay. So let's talk about your achievements and impact on a project in your CV. Well, for recruiters, it's nice to know about your responsibilities on a project, but the most valuable information for us is your achievements and contributions to that project. Please try to remember what you have done, what was your impact on a project, because this information is more valuable for us. And I didn't mention it here, but by the meme, you can understand that it's important to keep your CV compact. Try to keep it short because long CVs are hard to read. Sometimes it's really interesting, but usually we get a lot of CVs from their candidates, and it's really hard to process 8 pages CVs. I don't know, 10 CVs, each one is 8 pages. That will be a long day and a lot of work to do. So try to keep it short. And the last thing, but not the least, and one of the most important, and the next slide, please. Proofreading. Uh, it's vital. Proofread your CV, please. Like your career depends on it. Typos and weird formatting, and like ask your friend to proofread it for you. Maybe you haven't noticed something. And what about you, by the way? Have you seen any typos here? Maybe the next slide will help you with that. Anastasia, can you help us with the next slide and with the typo? Yeah, because sometimes when you work hard on your CV, you stop noticing the typos, the mistakes. So it's always nice to ask your friends to proofread it for you. I think I'm done with my points for now. Anastasia.
Great. Yes, and I have like advertisement minute on our show. So we have a special announcement for our Lemon.io community members. If you joined us today, please write to Yulia Kovalenko on Slack. She's got a Lemon.io gift waiting for you. So don't hesitate and type right after our conversation. And the next thing that is actually also really important is tailoring your CV for a specific project. Like Krzysztof mentioned, he's updating his CV from time to time, and it's really important to look through your CV and update it prior to your new application, actually. And actually, Krzysztof, how much time do you usually spend filling information in your CV? I know that this process is quite time consuming actually, but maybe you have some tricks here. And how much time do you usually spend on like adding information about one project?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have these couple of rules for myself. Like, don't redo the CV more than once a year. Otherwise, it's a nightmare. It becomes a road straight to mental asylum. From the other side, I try to, or maybe like what follows from that point is that instead of making your CV each time you're applying, you're just maintaining it over the year. On the other hand, I tend to follow this modular CV approach where I have my full CV, but depending on who I'm applying to, I'll pick the most relevant information from the projects. And I'm not meaning that the list of projects is different. Just the list of responsibilities I'm picking for each project may differ a little bit. And from time to time, I will add probably totally irrelevant things like make the CV in the color of the company, like accent color from macOS and so on. But yeah, usually I don't spend too much time. If I decide to redo it completely down from scratch, then it might be a weekend, it might be a week of me, hovering around and contemplating existence in the universe. But besides that, yeah, just a couple of days usually.
Great. And while you were working as a talent acquisition specialist, did you often see CVs that were adjusted to the client, like to the project?
Not really, actually. I saw maybe 3 or 4, and that was usually followed by immediate thumbs up by the team, because it's when you have a conversation with somebody and you notice that that person is listening you and cares for what you've got to say. That's pretty much evident. They will react and show it through the conversation, through the way they give you feedback. And it's similar when you're getting that kind of CV. You're describing your expectations, you're describing the requirements, and somebody answers with precisely that, with a list of things good about themselves or wishing to improve in a package that actually fits those expectations. So not too often, but definitely a very, very nice thing to see.
Yes, I agree. Like, I also have experience as a hiring manager, and for me as a hiring manager, it was always a great delight to see CV adjusted specifically for the position, because thus I understood that people really look through the position, look through our website information. They are interested in the position, really. They try to make one more step to reach this stage. And so, of course, such people usually are the first ones I contacted. And I think it works with all the clients the same way. So it's really great to make an extra effort and adjust your CV, and you can actually win the project with well-prepared CV. And I think it is always important to remember that clients review a lot of CVs every day, so they will skip the one that do not have relevant experience mentioned. And it may be both about projects, about even a title of your CV. If you are applying to several projects, just try to look at position descriptions, just try to look at the vacancy a bit more carefully and adjust your CV accordingly. It may be just like a small adjustment, small change in all the CV, but client will pay attention to it definitely. And of course, review your CV and check if you have or if you can add similar experience. Like I already told that it is great to include information about your responsibilities if you did something similar to what client is looking for. So list your responsibilities carefully. And clients really prefer candidates with similar responsibilities mentioned. And check if you mention all technologies important to the client in your projects. It really works great if you include some additional information, like what makes you a great fit for this or that project. Like, it is great to review a CV and just remember, maybe you forgot to add something, maybe you actually had experience with some technology client is looking for. And if you did, include this information. Review your project information, and if you see that you have some similar points, just highlight it. And it's important to mention similar technologies, not just in technologies list that is usually in the beginning of your CV, but in the projects as well, because client may not understand how much experience do you have with some specific technology actually. So it is important, if you worked on something similar, highlight it in the project. Make sure that you highlight technologies in project specifically. It works really great for clients. And I know that Katerina also has something to say here.
The only thing I wanted to add is that when tailoring your CV can help you with shortening your CV in case it's too long. is just ask yourself a question: is this information relevant to the position I am applying for? Is this information will be available for the recruiter or the client, and will give some information about what you can do, about your achievements and responsibilities and whatever. Yeah, and that's it.
Great points. Great points. And actually, we have some time left for the questions. And I see question for Krzysztof. So Ivan is asking if Krzysztof, which programming languages do you consider essential for today's developers?
I don't want to answer that question. That's gonna be that's gonna be quite a storm. Or maybe okay, I will evade the question swiftly. I myself look at developers' knowledge in terms of three aspects of kind of programming background. It's knowledge of objective languages, not necessarily for the purpose of using it, but for having the mental model behind. Of course, the functional languages and some esoteric ground. I mean, something totally silly that doesn't provide any business value, but provides enormous, huge value for your own brain and for understanding how programming works. So those three, and aside, of course, something related to data. This is like this starter pack that probably every recruiters, especially technical recruiter, out there looks for.
Great, great. Thank you so much for the answer. I see a bit more questions pinned here. Just 1 minute.
Is it good to, sorry, I will help you with the question. Is it good to include your hobbies in the professional summary? I can tell you from the recruiter's perspective, and Anastasiya will tell you maybe from the client side. Well, for us, it's very valuable information actually, because nowadays there are a lot of burns out of their candidates or the workers, and usually hobbies, they save us from the burns out. That's why when we see that the person is doing something really interesting in their life, we understand that this person may be burnout free or something like that. But it's always hobbies tells us more about the person the candidate who is applying for the position. So I would say that yes, it's nice to include your hobbies in the summary. What do you think? Yeah.
Actually, I agree. I think it is important, and maybe it is a bit. Maybe clients have a bit different perspective for it, but again, as I told earlier, if you have any hobbies that may be relevant for this project, that may show that you're actually a really good fit for it, like it may be a musical app and you have musical education, or you just like play piano in your free time, include this information. Why not? It will show that you're specifically interested, that you're really passionate about the theme, and client may pay specific attention to you. So I think it is a good idea actually to include information, a bit more personal information about you. And Krzysztof, what do you think?
I do include personal information on CV, several ones. Some of my hobbies or weird fixations. I don't think too much about it, although indeed when I was reading other people's CVs, I would take at least mental note of that, especially with these broad abstract kind of things like music, sport, some kind of arts, crafts, or social aspects, volunteering, and so on. So yeah, definitely something that reveals a little bit of who you are. Of course, without good if it's without overdoing it. So if it's just something, a few brief points at the bottom of CV, fantastic. But if it's half of the CV, then reconsider. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And we have another question from Bogdan. Based on your personal experiences and your cooperation with customers, how important are intermediate pro level IT certifications for customers? How often certification was the main reason for taking one candidate over another? Actually, I do not remember cases when specific certification was the main point for choosing a developer for a customer, but I remember quite a lot of cases when it was important. But customers mainly pay attention to degrees, actually, from what I know, from what I faced with. So if you have a degree in computer science, in data science, etc., include this information, it really brings a lot of value to customers, and they may choose your profile over another profiles, but it won't be the only thing that they pay attention to. It's just your way to be an outstanding, to make your profile outstanding. And about certifications, a client, of course, may pay attention to it, but more like a nice to have thing. So if they are looking for a candidate experienced with specific technologies and some like niche technology, they may like that you have certification in it. It may be a good point for them, but it won't be like totally no-go if you do not have a certification, but you still have experience with this technology. Katerina, maybe you have something to add here.
I think that the certification is a plus for the developer himself because it's more knowledge, more experience and stuff. We usually pay attention to the certification only if the client wants this exact certification, but I never had this kind of case. Education, yeah, right, but not the certifications. It's more a bonus for the developer.
Sure, agree with you. And we also have one more question from Kichrom. I hope I pronounced the name correctly. If not, I'm really sorry. If you work with famous customers, but through some also well-known or not well-known outsourcing company, should we include outsourcing company name or customer company name or both? I think it depends a lot on your agreement with the platform and with the customers, because sometimes customers may require NDA signed. They may not like you including their company names, and sometimes platforms may not like you including their clients' names on your portfolio. So it should be discussed with the platform and with the client specifically, and I would recommend to do it. But if you have a chance to write down a famous name on your CV, of course you should do it. If customer has no objection here, if a platform has no objection here, then why not? For example, we at Lemon.io, we usually have as a platform no objection for a developer to include company's name on the CV, but of course just upon agreement with the client. Krzysztof, did you have any cases when clients didn't want to include their names, their company names on your CV?
Yes, quite a few.
And how did
I cannot say anything about it. How did I feel? I had mixed feelings actually about it, but how well? Yeah, mixed feelings, because it's from one side it looks obvious, from the other it looks a bit shady from time to time. So yeah, it's yeah, legal mumbo jumbo. I'll leave it like that.
Yeah. And were you able to include like at least some information about these projects?
Yeah,
like
some information about the project, but leaving off the name or names of the affiliates, yeah, that's not a problem. But explicitly mentioning someone's name, that's very problematic. I remember even having cases in a couple of startups where we were were asked not to mention any affiliation because of relationships with the investors, for example, and the way they want to approach the further investment. So that's strange things that may happen in this ground.
Sure, understand here. And we have a question about red flags. Could you share common red flags in the CVs raised by the clients? Actually, we talked a bit this topic prior. We mentioned like project lengths, CV size, actually proofreading your CVs, etc., etc. And it's all about red flags, but we ask you to join our event at Lemon.io Talk, How to Screw Up the Interview, scheduled for October 11. So if this topic is specifically interested for you, just join our conversation, and I'm sure we'll cover a lot of additional information about red flags and what clients pay attention to. And I think we have just a couple of minutes left. We also have some information in our presentation that may be a good to review. We will send this information after our conversation as well, but just like to make a conclusion on what we were talking about. And it can be like a homework for you after the call when you have inspiration to review your CV, and I hope you gain some inspiration during our talk. So add the latest project or the project you are currently working on. Add your newly achieved skills. Organize the projects chronologically. Update your responsibilities and achievements. Make sure your responsibilities are specific and contain at least 3 sentences. Avoid tautology and generalized descriptions. Check project links. Check your GitHub. Align your CV with your next opportunity. Highlight similar experience. Check relevant tag mentions. Check relevant code samples. And of course, proofread with Grammarly and check the formatting. So, guys and gals, thank you so much for today's event. It was a great pleasure to talk with you, Katerina, and with you, Krzysztof. And I hope that our developers that joined us today will get a dream project really, really soon. So thank you all, guys.
Thank you.